Okay, let's get into the specifics of what you need for your coop. Your coop will need a roost, the place where your chickens sleep at night. I built my roost out of 2x4s with the 4-inch side facing up. This is plenty wide for the chickens to sit without having to grip and hang on. Plus, they can easily lay down on top of their feet, which helps prevent frostbite in the coldest months. Each chicken will need about an 8-inch wide area, 20 centimeters, so keep that in mind as you consider how wide and how tall to make your roost. Leave about a 12-inch or 30 centimeter gap between rows and angle the roost so the girls on top aren't directly over the ones below. You don't want them pooping on each other. You could even use an old ladder, in which case you may want to knock out a rung or two to ensure proper spacing. Your roost bar should have a non-slip surface. I used indoor-outdoor carpeting, which serves that purpose and also prevents the girls from getting splinters in their feet. I attached my roost using bolts and T-nuts, making it easy to remove when I want to clean the coop. Consider putting a tray, known as a droppings board or scrape board, under your roost. This will save you cleaning time, make your bedding last longer, and if you use poop for fertilizer or compost, this is a convenient way to collect it. One more note about roosts. If you are raising only meat chickens, you don't need a roost. First, meat birds get very big very quickly and will have difficulty getting up on a roost anyway. Most will just ignore it, and if they do choose to roost, they are prone to breast blisters. You only need a roost if at least some of your chickens are laying hens. Your nesting boxes should be large enough for your hens to lay down inside comfortably. I have larger birds, and the plastic crates I use are 13 by 13 by 14 inches, 33 by 33 by 35 centimeters, which is plenty big. You may want more elegant or permanent nesting boxes for your coop, but these were a great solution for me. Many people line their nesting boxes with straw or wood shavings. I use a soft mat that I can remove and wash as needed. You can also buy nesting pads, which can be shaken out and reused several times, but eventually you do need to replace them. Not only do nesting boxes provide a dedicated and hopefully clean place for eggs, they help reduce stress among your flock. If chickens don't have a comfortable and somewhat isolated place to lay, it will create anxiety for them. Also, nesting boxes should be inside the coop, not outside, to prevent predators having easy access. You don't want your hens to sleep in the nesting boxes because they will poop in them. To discourage this, try to avoid having your roost and nesting boxes on the same wall, and make sure your roost is higher than the nesting boxes. A piece of plywood angled downward makes it harder for them to sit above the nesting boxes. You'll need at least one nesting box for every 5 to 6 hens. My flocks are each 6 birds. One flock has 2 nesting boxes and the other has only 1. Both flocks have done well. You should check for eggs daily. The longer an egg stays in the nesting box, the better the chances it will get broken or eaten. For these reasons, you may want to consider rollback nesting boxes. When the hen lays the egg, it rolls away from her. This reduces the chance she or another hen will step on it or peck at it. You may also want to have outside access to the nesting boxes to make egg collection more convenient. Now for your chickens' feed and water. I suspended my feeder from a chain and adjusted the height so my chickens can feed comfortably. Suspending the feeder in air keeps them from walking and pooping in it and knocking it over and spilling their food. I use a nipple waterer instead of a gravity waterer. I'll explain the difference in food and water. Initially, I had the waterer in the coop, but during a really harsh winter, the nipples froze open and water kept dripping out. That caused a huge mess, so I moved the waterer outside into the run. I covered the wood floor in my coop with linoleum. This makes for easier cleanup and also provides somewhat of a moisture barrier to help protect the floor. With my neighbor's help, I added a door to the playhouse so I could secure my flock at night. It has removable panels that allow air in during hot nights, with openings that are covered in hard cloth. This door is mostly for me. I also added a pop door for the girls. It doesn't hurt to have a second entrance to your coop, and using the smaller opening reduces drafts and keeps the coop a bit warmer in the winter. To make a pop door, Cut a rectangular hole in the wall of your coop and use the cutout as the ramp. Frame the hole and the cutout with trim wood. Add some thin door stops on each side. Put a hinge at the bottom and a latch in the middle, and you have a pop door. For larger ramps, you can cut thin strips of wood for cleats and tack them onto the ramps to make it easier for the hens to walk on. If your pop door opens directly to your yard, make it big enough for your chickens to fit through, but too small for a dog or other similar predator. Because my pop door opens into the run, I was comfortable making it a little larger. My opening is 21 inches tall by 18 inches wide, 53 by 46 centimeters. Next, let's talk about ventilation. Chicken poop contains ammonia, which gets released into the air. Chicken feathers and bedding will produce a lot of dust. On top of that, a chicken's own breathing adds vapor to the air, much like our breath does. All of these create moisture. Poor ventilation can lead to your chickens contracting a respiratory illness, so it's essential that you take steps to ensure good airflow. The more confined your chickens are, the more critical this becomes. If you don't have a run, a large portion of at least 2 walls of your coop should be vented and covered with hardcloth. A good rule of thumb is 1 square foot of ventilation for each chicken. My coop has 2 good-sized windows and a large door, each of which are covered and can be left open at night. That produces plenty of air exchange and lets my girls also benefit from a gentle breeze on a hot summer's night. Of course, I have these closed up tight at night during the winter. You might not think ventilation is important in the winter, but it is extremely important. Winter air can get very humid, and humidity leads to respiratory illness as well as frostbite on the comb and wattles. So, to ensure good airflow in colder weather, I cut vents in the soffit of my coop. Note that these vents are on a horizontal surface, which reduces the chance of a draft yet allows plenty of air exchange. Each of these is 6 by 10 inches, 15 by 25 centimeters. If this was the only ventilation my coop got during the winter, I might be concerned that that's not enough. However, the coop doors are open during the day, the girls are out in the run where the airflow is excellent, and they're closed up in the coop only overnight. If you're not sure how much ventilation is necessary, err on the side of too much. You'll save yourself a lot of grief over sick chickens, and your girls will be more comfortable and healthy. Some people like to provide heat in their coops. Even though I live where there are long, cold winters, I have chosen not to do this, mostly because of fear of a coop fire. The breeds I chose are all cold hardy and have done just fine without heat. However, I am considering adding insulation to the coop walls. One important note about artificial heat. Once you do it, you cannot stop. Your chicken's natural thermoregulation will adjust to the supplemental heat, and if you take that heat away, they will not be able to adapt. They could freeze to death. You may also want to add lighting. If you do, be aware of this. A chicken's vision is highly sensitive to even the slightest of movements. That means they can detect the flickering of a fluorescent light that might be imperceptible to you and me. If you use artificial lighting, keep an eye on how your chickens react. If they seem anxious, for instance if you see a lot of fighting, it could be a reaction to the light.